After 60, mental strength changes everything. 7 secrets no one tells you. Have you ever found yourself sitting in your favorite chair, holding your cup of tea, and wondering why certain things seem harder now? Not just physically, but emotionally too. Maybe you've noticed that small setbacks affect you more than they used to. Or perhaps you catch yourself thinking, I just don't bounce back the way I used to. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. In fact, it's incredibly common as we age. Life changes, routines shift, friends move or pass on, and suddenly, the emotional resilience we took for granted when we were younger seems to thin out. But here's the good news. Just like you can build muscle at any age, you can build mental muscle too. Mental toughness isn't something you're born with and then lose. It's a set of habits and mindsets, like tools in a toolbox, that you can pick up again, even at 60, 70, or 80. And once you do, everyday life becomes lighter. You begin to feel more in control again, more capable, more grounded. Today, I want to gently walk with you through some of the most powerful secrets for becoming mentally tougher in this next chapter of life. These are practical, real-world shifts, not abstract theories. They're based on insights from psychologists, doctors who specialize in aging, and even fitness experts like Dr. Michael Greger, who reminds us that how we live each day dramatically affects how we feel each day. We're going to talk about habits that will help you feel sharper, stronger, and more resilient, even when life throws its curveballs. So, let's take a deep breath together and begin this journey. Let me ask you something. How do you talk to yourself when no one else is listening? That little voice in your head, what does it say when you forget where you put your glasses, or when you mix up someone's name? If you're like many people, that voice might not always be kind. In fact, it can sometimes be downright cruel. You might hear yourself saying things like, I'm getting old, or what's wrong with me? But here's the first and perhaps most powerful secret to mental toughness at any age. How you talk to yourself matters more than you think. This is what psychologists call self-talk. And researchers like Dr. Kristen Neff have shown that being kind to ourselves, especially in moments of struggle, actually builds emotional resilience. It's not about ignoring mistakes or pretending everything's fine. It's about treating yourself the way you treat a dear friend. If a friend dropped a plate, would you call them useless? No, you'd probably laugh and help clean up. So why not extend that same grace to yourself? Here's something you can try. The next time you make a little error, pause and say, it's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. I'm doing my best. You'll be surprised at how calming that is. It interrupts the spiral of self-blame and replaces it with self-respect. And that's the foundation of mental strength. Now, let's shift gears to something more physical. Because yes, your body and mind are deeply connected. One of the most overlooked secrets to mental toughness is movement. Not just exercise, but intentional, daily movement that tells your brain, I'm still in the game. You don't have to run a marathon or lift heavy weights, though if you do, more power to you. But something as simple as a 15-minute walk in the fresh air, gentle stretching in the morning, or even dancing around the kitchen while your tea brews can boost your brain in powerful ways. According to Dr. Wendy Suzuki, a neuroscientist at NYU, exercise doesn't just improve physical health, it acts like a miracle grow for the brain. She found that movement increases levels of dopamine and serotonin, those feel-good chemicals that keep you emotionally balanced. It also strengthens the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory. So when you move your body, you're not just staying physically fit, you're fortifying your emotional armor, sharpening your focus, and even helping guard against memory loss. I once spoke with a retired gentleman named David, who picked up Tai Chi at age 68. At first, he felt silly waving his arms in slow motion. But after a few weeks, he noticed something. His mood lifted, his balance improved, and he began sleeping better. It gave me a rhythm, he told me. Something to show up for. That's the power of movement. It's a quiet but steady builder of confidence. And confidence, my friend, is a key part of mental toughness. Let's talk about something else now. Something a little quieter but just as important. Stillness. In a world that's always buzzing, learning how to sit with your own thoughts, to breathe, to listen, to pause, is a sign of real strength. Meditation, mindfulness, or even just quiet reflection helps you train your brain to stay calm in the storm. Think of it like giving your brain a reset button. You don't need to sit cross-legged on a cushion or chant anything mystical. Even just closing your eyes for 5 minutes and focusing on your breath can work wonders. In fact, many doctors like Dr. Daniel Amen, a brain health expert, suggest just 2 minutes of focused breathing each day to lower stress hormones and improve emotional clarity. It's not about becoming a monk. It's about creating a moment of peace in your day that belongs just to you. One lovely woman I spoke to, named Marga, said she keeps a small chair by her garden window and calls it her pause chair. Every afternoon, she sits there, watches the birds, and takes 3 slow, deep breaths. I don't solve the world's problems there, she said with a smile. I do find a little more strength to handle them. That's the beauty of mental toughness. It's not loud or showy. It's quiet confidence. It's knowing you can handle life, even when it's not perfect. And yes, that kind of strength can absolutely grow with age. So here's what I invite you to do. Speak kindly to yourself. Move your body with intention, and give yourself moments of stillness. These aren't complicated changes. They're small, doable actions with a big ripple effect. And with every day you practice them, you'll feel that inner resilience getting stronger. You'll wake up not feeling worn down by the world, but ready to face it with calm, quiet strength. And that's just the beginning. Because once you've laid the foundation, you can start building even more powerful habits on top. There's more to explore, more secrets to unlock. So now that we've taken the first steps, treating ourselves with kindness, moving our bodies, and finding stillness, you might already feel something shifting inside. It's subtle at first. A little more patience in your voice, a bit more energy in your step. That's how resilience works. It builds slowly, layer by layer. And the next layer? Well, it may surprise you. Because mental toughness isn't just about how we react to life. It's also about what we choose to focus on. Think about it. Every day, we're surrounded by noise, news stories, health warnings, family problems, aches and pains. It's easy to get swept up in it all and feel like the world is falling apart. But here's the fourth secret. Mental toughness is about attention. What you feed your mind determines how strong it becomes. Dr. Caroline Leaf, a cognitive neuroscientist, explains that the brain is constantly rewiring itself based on what we focus on. It's called neuroplasticity. She says, what you think about the most grows. So if we constantly dwell on fear, regret, or frustration, those pathways in our brain get stronger. But if we gently shift our attention toward gratitude, curiosity, hope, those become our dominant thoughts instead. One way to do this? Create a mental diet. Just like you choose what to eat, choose what you let into your mind. Maybe it's switching from morning news to soothing music. Maybe it's limiting conversations with people who constantly complain. Or maybe it's something as simple as writing down 3 things you're grateful for each night before bed. A cozy blanket, a kind neighbor, a hot shower. These little reflections train your brain to notice the good, even when life is challenging. A dear friend of mine named Evelyn, who's 74, told me she writes 1 sentence every morning. Today, I will notice what makes me smile. That's it. And you know what? She does notice sunlight on her teacup, the way her dog tilts its head, even the feeling of clean sheets. She says it's made her calmer, more hopeful, and less likely to spiral when things go wrong. That ability to stay centered brings us to the fifth secret: boundaries. Now I know, that word might sound a little stiff or even selfish. But let me ask you, how many times have you said yes to something just to keep the peace, even when you knew it would wear you out? Or agreed to a visit, a favor, a long phone call, even though you were too tired, too overwhelmed? Here's the truth. Mentally strong people know how to protect their peace. And after 60, that peace becomes more precious than ever. Dr. Henry Cloud, a clinical psychologist and author of Boundaries, says you get what you tolerate. And many seniors, especially those with big hearts, have spent a lifetime giving, supporting, and accommodating others. But real strength comes when you say, I matter too. It's okay to say, not today, or I need a moment, or even I love you, but I need some space. That's not being rude. That's being wise. I knew a gentleman in his 80s, Mr. Luis, who finally told his grown children, I love when you visit, but please give me a day's notice so I can rest before and after. He said it kindly, and guess what? They respected it. And he felt better. Setting boundaries doesn't push people away. It teaches them how to respect you. If you struggle with boundaries, start small. Even something as gentle as scheduling quiet hours in your day. No calls, no chores, just you and your own rhythm can be a powerful step. Remember, protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's essential to building inner strength. Now, let's take that strength and turn it outward, because secret number 6 is about purpose. At this stage of life, many people begin to question, what am I here for now? If your career is behind you, if your children are grown, if some of your old roles no longer fit, what's your new reason to wake up with intention? Purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It can be as simple as caring for your garden, mentoring a younger neighbor, sharing your stories, or learning a new skill. Mental strength blossoms when you feel needed, when you feel connected to something beyond yourself. Dr. Ikigai Shintaro, who studied longevity in Okinawa, one of the world's blue zones, where people live well to their 90s and 100s, found that having a reason to get up in the morning was one of the biggest predictors of a long, joyful life. In Japanese, they call it ikigai, your reason for being. For some, it's a craft. For others, it's helping others. For many, it's simply the joy of doing something well. I remember speaking with Meryl, a retired nurse who volunteers at a local food bank. She said, I may not run the place, but I fill bags with care. I tell each person, this is for you. And every time I do, I feel stronger. Purpose gives you a sense of meaning, and meaning is what keeps you resilient when life gets tough. And finally, let's talk about flexibility. Not physical flexibility, though that's helpful too, but mental flexibility. Because mental toughness isn't about being hard or rigid. It's about being able to bend, to adapt, to say, okay, that didn't go as planned. What now? It's about learning to pivot without falling apart. The most resilient people I've ever met aren't the ones who never struggled. They're the ones who learned how to shift. A bad day doesn't define their week. A diagnosis doesn't steal their joy. A change in plans doesn't ruin everything. They roll with it. They adjust. Neuroscientist Dr. Norman Doidge, author of The Brain That Changes Itself, emphasizes how adaptability is a skill that stays with us even as we age. The brain can still form new connections, learn new patterns, and develop new habits. You are not stuck with the way things are. You are still becoming. So, next time something goes wrong, your ride cancels, your knee acts up, your plans fall through, pause, breathe, and ask, what can I do instead? That simple question opens up possibility. And possibility is what makes us feel alive. Because that's what mental toughness really is. It's not about being unshakable. It's about knowing that even if you're shaken, you'll still rise. You know, it's funny how strength can look so different from what we once believed. When we were younger, we may have thought strength was about never crying, never struggling, never asking for help. But with age comes wisdom, and we begin to see that true mental toughness doesn't come from hiding our emotions. It comes from honoring them. That brings us to the final and perhaps most powerful secret: connection. Emotional strength grows when we allow ourselves to connect deeply with people, with nature, with our past, and even with ourselves. And I'll be honest with you, this one might take a little courage, but it's worth it. Let's start with the most obvious form: connecting with other people. It doesn't mean you need to surround yourself with a crowd or suddenly become a social butterfly. But having even one person you can talk to honestly can be a lifeline. Someone who listens without fixing, who simply hears you. That kind of connection reminds you that you're not alone, even when life feels heavy. Dr. Vivek Murthy, a U.S. Surgeon General, has spoken a lot about the health risks of loneliness, especially in older adults. He says, loneliness is not just a bad feeling. It can affect our physical and emotional health in profound ways. But even a brief, sincere conversation with a friend or neighbor can reduce stress hormones, improve memory, and yes, make you more resilient. One woman I met, named Joan, started a porch club with 2 of her neighbors. Every Wednesday afternoon, rain or shine, they sit outside with tea and just talk. We don't solve the world's problems, she says, but we do make each other feel seen. That, my friend, is mental strength in action, building community, one heart to heart at a time. But connection isn't just about people. It's also about reconnecting with yourself. When was the last time you sat quietly and just checked in with how you feel? No judgment, no fixing, just noticing. That act of self-awareness builds emotional strength because it helps you respond instead of reacting. It helps you catch those emotional triggers before they spiral. Therapist and author Susan David, who teaches at Harvard Medical School, says discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life. So instead of avoiding emotions like sadness, fear, or frustration, strong people learn to sit with them, to listen to what they're telling us, and to move forward anyway. Sometimes journaling can help with that. Just a few lines a day. Today I felt, and then let the pen flow. You don't need to write a novel, just express what's inside. That kind of connection with your inner world strengthens your ability to weather storms, because you're not bottling things up. You're releasing them, processing them, growing through them. And that leads us into something you may not expect: forgiveness. Yes, forgiveness. Not for the person who hurt you, necessarily, but for you. Forgiving yourself for past mistakes, for choices you made when you didn't know better, for things you wish you'd done differently. Mental toughness doesn't come from pretending the past didn't happen. It comes from looking at your life with open eyes and saying, that was hard, but I'm still here. It's the decision to live fully now, without dragging old guilt like a heavy suitcase behind you. One gentleman I spoke with, Thomas, told me something that stuck. He said, I wasted years being mad at myself for things I couldn't fix, but the moment I said, I forgive you, I felt 10 years lighter. That's strength. Not denial, but grace. And once you've made peace with your past, something beautiful happens. You begin to look forward again, not with fear, but with quiet excitement. because mental toughness also means hope. The belief that there's still more joy to find, more love to give, more beauty to witness. And there is. There always is. You might be 60, 70, 80, even 90, but your story isn't over. You're still the author of your days. And every time you choose to speak kindly to yourself, to move your body, to be still, to protect your peace, to find purpose, to adapt, and to connect, you are becoming tougher, stronger, and more radiant. So let's take a deep breath right now. Go ahead, inhale through the nose, exhale slowly through the mouth. You've come so far, and everything you've lived through, it didn't break you, it built you. And now, you have something many people never find: wisdom. Wisdom that doesn't come from books or degrees, but from experience, from living, loving, losing, healing, and learning again. So let me ask you, what small change will you make today to strengthen your mind? Will you take a short walk? Write in your journal? Say something kind to yourself in the mirror? Call a friend and really listen? Every small step matters. Don't underestimate them. Because every time you take one, you're telling yourself, I'm still growing. I still matter. And you do matter. So much more than you know. If any of this touched your heart, I'd love to hear about it. Share your story in the comments. What makes you feel strong? Or what are you still working on? Let's support one another. We're in this together. And if you found this video helpful, give it a like. It helps others find it too. And subscribe if you'd like more tips, inspiration, and honest conversations for living well after 60. Remember, there's no expiration date on strength. Here's to living your best life, not in spite of age, but because of it. You've got this, and I'll be right here cheering you on.